So I just met the sweetest older couple and had a chat about, yes, the sensationalism of stuff. So we're going to get into that right now as well. Social media fatigue is real, y'all. And I'm going to explain why. And I am also going to talk about how I deal with it. And hopefully it will help you as well, because it's a very real and serious problem in our country, in our world actually, but really in our country. We were discussing just the craziness of the media and people calling and freaking out with Milton. Obviously, I'm not bringing Helene into this. Helene was extremely destructive. But the problem with Milton was it was on the heels of Helene, so people were already emotionally hyped. And so much on social media and the media plays into that. They literally will use clickbait stuff. They will put just horrible images to just heighten that, to make money, to get views. And it is a horrible thing to do. Now, living in Florida, we deal with hurricane season every single year. We deal with just bad storms.
You want to know what it's like living in Florida during hurricane season? Here we go. Stuck underneath Starbucks, making friends with people because everybody is trying to take shelter. So we are the blue dot. Look at the lightning around us. We're circled in red. Fast and hard. The lightning is right above us. The rain is sideways. It is downpouring. Absolutely unbelievable. There's no words, but I absolutely love it. Living in Florida, freaking awesome.
I mean, summertime, it is very common to have flash floods. It's very common to have heavy downpours. It's a daily thing. We have a daily storm in Florida. The problem is that when you sensationalize everything, for a lot of people, it will lull them to sleep. They will no longer believe when something is serious. It's like the boy who cried wolf. Then you have the other side of the spectrum. It may be somebody's first season here, hurricane season here. Whether they are visiting Florida for the first time, whether they've moved here and this is their first time here, and it creates pure panic. And it's felt across the board, from gas stations running out of gas to grocery stores being out of staple items. And then you have the absolute chaos of the traffic jams. With Hurricane Milton, and I've said this in previous videos, there were 6 million people that evacuated. Now, I'm not throwing the tornadoes into this. That is totally different level. Our state is not set up. We don't have sirens. Our buildings are not made for tornadoes. Our building codes are for hurricanes. A lot of people just panicked. I mean, panicked. They are not even listening to our state and local officials. With hurricanes, you run from the water, you hide from the wind. And what that means is you run from the water, meaning if you are in a flood zone, if you are in a storm surge area. Those were mandatory evacuations with Milton. Hide from the wind. Mobile homes typically cannot withstand hurricane force winds. RVs definitely can't. Manufactured homes cannot. Campers cannot. Those also were mandatory. Houses like ours, we can hide from the wind. They're not trying to protect people from damages. They are basing evacuations on loss of life. The problem is that the sensationalism was so crazy with Milton. So crazy with Milton that people who didn't even live here, they've never experienced a hurricane season. They don't know anything about it. They don't know how it works. Panic. And they think everybody is supposed to evacuate. That's not how it works. And it's not even feasible. It's just not even feasible. 6 million people trying to get out of our state was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. And what people don't understand is when they do evacuations, it's for that whole cone. The cone just means that is the area within the cone that the eye can hit. It does not mean hurricane force wind. It doesn't mean that. That's where the eye can hit, is anywhere inside of that cone. So when they go through and they do the evacuations, days before, they're doing it based on the cone model. So when you overhype stuff and you get people in a panic because they literally are trying to get the ratings and they're trying to get the views, that creates a very dangerous situation. And let's face it, fear is the biggest driver. It is the biggest driver. People can get you to do all kinds of stuff through fear. So when you live here and you go through it and you see these natives and these Floridians saying, you don't understand, it's because we live it. We know what we're doing. We listen to our state and local officials. We're doing what we're told to do. Now, by all means, if somebody has not been through it and they feel like evacuating, I mean, nobody's going to stop you, but just understand, with all of the extra people creates all of the extra chaos. And we're dealing with it again. I can't count how many people have commented, Hurricane Nadine is coming. I've seen so many clickbait titles. There is no Hurricane Nadine. There is not even a tropical depression. There is no tropical storm. There are two areas that are being watched right now. One off the coast of Africa, one down off of the Gulf. The next name would be Nadine. That is it. You've got two models that show something might happen. The US model shows a hurricane. The ICANN shows a tropical storm. Canadian and European show nothing. The problem is this area that they're watching is so far out. It's going to be like another week. Like another week before we even have a handle on what could possibly happen. In the meantime, just go on social media. Just go on social media. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Y'all, we have got to do a better job of just taking a breath, going online and doing real research. People have gotten so used to believing everything they see online. Even down to, storms and the aftermath. They're not showing you areas, and I've witnessed this with tornadoes. You'll see some houses destroyed, and then there's a couple more that's not, and then a couple more that are. They're always going to show you the worst of the worst. Have you noticed how when they do news coverage and they're at the podiums, it's always with this crazy devastation behind them? It gets views. It gets clicks. And the thing with fear is you cannot make sound, wise decisions when you are trying to make a decision afraid. It's never going to happen. You can't have a level head. You can't think things through. And that's what they're banking on. So how I deal with it is honestly, I just shut it off. I really try to just de-stress from it. I spend some time in the Word. I listen to some really good sermons. I put on some worship music. And I just de-stress. Now, typically, I'd just go out to the water and I'd go paddling or I'd go for hikes. That obviously isn't an option right now with my treatment. But hopefully, it will be soon. But each of us has a way to de-stress. And you just have to unplug from the hype. This world is so filled with sensationalism, but also fake. There are, just on YouTube, so many channels. It's so overdone. It's not real life. And I think that's why there are so many people like us, like Gary and I, who just are craving real. And we end up just being attracted to the normal, everyday people who are talking. It's not crazy editing. It's not, super excited, nuts, when they're talking on camera. It's just like somebody we would typically hang out with. It's normal, everyday people. And I think this desire and I think this movement is growing very rapidly because people are so tired of the fake. They just want real. They don't want to be screamed at. They don't want overexcited fake videos on YouTube. They don't want over edited. They just want to watch people and follow people that you see. Like, yeah, if we sat down and had a cup of coffee or went out for a pizza, this is pretty much what you get. Like, you will not find that on my channel ever. It does not matter how big it gets. You will never find that on my channel. I am not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the overdone stuff. What you see is what you get. And whether you're hanging out with me in real life or you're just watching a video, this is how we are all the time. I mean, if anything, we kind of tone it down a little bit because, we can be crazy. And we can be sarcastic. It's our generation, Gen X. Like, that's how we learn to survive. So if anything, instead of ramping it up and being fake, like, we tone it down a little bit. So that is my advice to you guys. Just unplug. Don't click on the clickbait titles. Don't be a part of that. Just search and go after the real, y'all. And until tomorrow, get outside, make some memories, and I'll see you next time. Bye.